Yep. I decided to do 2 streams in one day. Would you look at that? Not my first idea, honestly, but... in the second it just kind of made sense, you know? Yeah, Anarchy Splatcast. Blah, 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 who cares? So, after the stream ended, I played a little bit more, got my ass kicked hard. I did another round of tower control, and it went terribly. I just cannot win in, fucking the Marlin Airport. I'd actually be fine with those stages, but fuck no, I'm not trying that again. Oh my god, it was a mess. It was a fucking mess. And I got my ass kicked. The new stage, you know, I like that new stage. And yet we were just getting destroyed in it. And it was awful. So yeah. But yeah, I decided, you know what? It's probably for the best that we just do 2 games in one day. Like, why not? Or 2 streams in one day. Because I really don't want to do this show on Sunday. Right, that's the Lord's Day. All I have to do is go over to Jessica's house. And, like, dude, you won't believe it, dude. Like, I went over to Jessica's house, dude. And we, like, read the Bible. Like, oh my gosh, it was crazy, dude. Because we read the Bible. What a funny video that you can't watch anymore. I mean, yeah, you know you can, but there's not much point in it. So, what's the plan? So, we got a few things to talk about. We got a Pokémon Presents that happened the other week. So we got that to talk about. We have video game layoffs. There's been a lot of video game layoffs, and I do want to talk about that. We've talked about it before, but I kind of want to give you some updated numbers. And then we've got, what's it called? There's like 1 or 2 other small stories. There's, of course, Switch 2 news. Because guess what? It's fucking current year. Of course there's Switch 2 news. And then, yeah. And then we got some WIBE stuff. I got some food stuff to talk about. I got actually 2 things to talk about. So we'll do that. And then, yeah. Oh, God. So, the first thing we got is the Pokémon Presents. So, let's just do the importance. There's 2 important stories and a bunch of bullshit nobody cares about. So, let's do the important stories first. Then we'll talk about the bullshit nobody cares about. So, the first one is the Pokemon Pocket TCG. Now, I posted the clip on TikTok the other day. When I first saw the Pokemon Pocket TCG, my first thought was Pokemon trading card NFTs. Not a terrible first thought, honestly. Like, I totally get how I got from column A to column B there. Because it's... Ooh, that's not pretty. Yeah, that was my first thought. Like, oh my god, NFTs. Because trading cards, in a lot of ways, kind of remind me of NFTs. God, we were doing so well at halftime there. Like, by the time we were halfway. And then it all just fell apart. Yeah, I could totally see the Pokemon Company making Pokemon NFTs. But no, that's not what this is. Basically, they're taking the Pokemon trading card game, which has been a website for like many years now, right? If you open a pack of Pokemon cards, you get a code that you can put in on a website. That's something they've been doing for years now. That is the closest I have ever come to learning the Pokemon trading card game, was when they launched that website. Because I'll be honest, I kind of know how to play the Pokemon trading card game, but I really don't. Right? Me and my friends collected Pokemon cards to have Pokemon cards, but we played Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the one we played. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the one I was pretty decent at. At least amongst my friends. So yeah, Pokemon cards were just, they were the Pokemon we liked, and now we had a little card showing it. So, the actual thing, so it's an app, where it's all the Pokemon you can play, you can collect cards, exactly what you'd expect. The only difference is that this one, right, because it's an app, it's going to have in-app purchases and whatnot, but it's also going to give you 2 daily hits. So, right, just to make sure you keep coming back, probably twice a day. I don't know at what times. Like, I wonder if it's going to be at, like, certain times. But basically, twice a day, it's going to give you a free hit. Of being like, oh, here's a pack you can open up. And I don't know if it's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, the free packs only have the basic cards. Or if they do actually... Because I wonder what the odds are going to be. Like, I do wonder if they're going to try to replicate, like, the actual odds for getting, like, real rare cards. Or if they're going to do it, make it even worse, like a mobile game. Because I have to assume getting rare cards in, like, something like Clash Royale, rare cards are a lot rarer in that game than they are in, like, real Pokemon cards. At least that's kind of what I remember it feeling like. It honestly might be the other way around. I feel like the wall special is getting a lot of use right now, but I don't know if that's because people are actually using it, or if it's just because a lot of the new weapons have it. Because I feel like the special hasn't actually gotten that much better. It's just a lot of the new weapons have it. Because I've been seeing it a lot these past few days, since the update released. But yeah, no, this Pokemon card thing... It's basically, casino. It has no appeal to me. I just can't be bothered. I've got an addictive personality. I don't want to deal with that. I already play this game, which is like having a second job. I don't need to fucking deal with Splatoon, or I don't need to deal with the Pokemon cards. I'm already kind of getting into Legos again and spending money on that, and that kind of feels awful. Because, God, Legos are fucking expensive, man. But God, Legos are expensive, but when it comes to what sets they're making, they're better. They're making so many good sets right now. At least from my perspective, I feel like they're making so many good sets. I don't know how everyone feels about that, but from my perspective, yeah, we're getting so many good sets. And we're getting a Zelda set later this year, supposedly. Admittedly, it's not the Zelda set I would have wanted, but it's a Zelda set. So, that's cool, I guess. So, other thing in the Pokemon Presents, they announced Pokemon Legends ZA, which I'm going to be honest, I keep just calling Pokemon ZA. I keep forgetting to add the Legends part. I kind of, can I be honest, I kind of hate the name. If it was, I really do wish it, I don't hate the Legends part. I'm fine with them continuing to use Legends as a moniker. That's not a problem for me. My problem is, I wish they had just called it Pokemon Legends Z. Z through A. Z-A, ZA, Zaw. It's just such an awkward name. Like, I get what they're going for, right? There was a character in the Pokemon games called AZ. So I get them, like, doing the reverse of that, or if they had just called it, right, Pokemon A through Z. I guess I would get that one. But the fact that it's Pokemon Legends Z through A, it's just such an awkward name. I wish they had just called it Pokemon Legends Z. And, right, it talked about the legendary Pokemon Z version that we never got. Like, if that was the joke, I feel like that's a good joke. But no, it's Pokemon Legends ZA. And there have, since the thing came out, there have been a few tweets talking about, like, I guess the official Nintendo account posted saying that the entire game is going to take place in Lumio City. And that's not what I expected. Because I feel like there's a good chunk of people, kind of myself included, that was like, oh, it's a new Pokemon Legends game. We're getting open world Kalos. Because, you know, Pokemon Legends Arceus was open world Gen 4. Sinnoh was the word I was looking for. That's an interesting idea. So it's like, oh, this is just going to be open world Kalos. That would also make sense as a not terrible idea. But that's, according to this Nintendo tweet, the entire game takes place in Lumio City. So maybe the Pokemon Legends moniker is less about, like, being like a type of, like, open world game, and it's more Nintendo's experimental games, right? It's Nintendo running experiments to do new and different things on their games. Because now that assuming this is all true, that this game takes place entirely in Lumio City, which I know that's what the tweet says. I have plenty of reason to be skeptical, especially because that's literally all we got is a single tweet. Right? There's plenty of reason to be skeptical. Like, a tweet means nothing. Even if it's from the official Nintendo account, a tweet means nothing. But if it takes place in the entirety of Lumio City, maybe instead of being like this next open world Pokemon game that people want, maybe this is going to be more like the farming Pokemon game that people really want. Like, I know Pal World had a bunch of farming elements that people really like. So maybe they just go fully on board with that and do full-on Pokemon farming game. But, of course, it's not farming. This is city development. So it'd be more like Pokemon SimCity, I guess, or... yeah, let's... Not SimCity. This just The Sims. Let's just go The Sims. Right, where you're building out I mean, I guess it could be SimCity as well, where you're, like, City Skylines, where you're building out a town. But it could also literally just be like, hey, you're building the buildings. You're putting Pokemon in these buildings. You know, you gotta find a way for people and Pokemon to live together. I totally think that they could be using the Legends moniker to do experiments, to do new things. Of course, right, then the team that made Legends Arceus, then, like, a lot of the work they did on Legends Arceus therefore went unused in Scarlet and Violet, which really sucks, because there were some ideas Legends Arceus had that were better than Scarlet and Violet, that they, like, undid in Legends Arceus, or that there were things added to Legends Arceus that were really cool, and it kind of sucks that Scarlet and Violet undid them and just made the game overall less convenient. But what you're gonna do? So I think this either way, I'm interested. I know I've said my piece before about what I think a Legends Z would be. My problem is, okay, so I actually predicted a Pokemon Legends Zygarde in the past. I don't remember if I called it Legends Zygarde. I think I might have called it like Legends Volcarona or whatever the Gen 6 mythical is. Not, maybe Hoop? Is the Gen 6 mythical Hoopa? I don't know, whatever the Gen 6... For some, in my head, it's Volcarona, but it may not be. I know Gen 7 is what? Marshadow? And Magernia? Whatever it is. My idea was... Okay, so... This... And I don't think... A lot of people are trying to predict, like, what's the timeline of this game? Does it take place in the past? Does it take place in the modern world? Does it take place in the future? And we honestly don't know. And we'll find out eventually, obviously. But my prediction has always been Pokemon game that takes place during the World Fair. Ooh, that's an interesting shirt. Pokemon game takes place during the, like, 1920s World Fair, right? Lumio's Tower is lit for the first time. It's got a steampunk aesthetic. That's just kind of like the overall vibe of the game, is there's, like, a steampunk aesthetic. And the plot of the game all revolves around a power crisis or an energy crisis. Because, you know, there's now more lights than ever before. The Lumio's Tower has just been lit for the first time. How do we provide enough energy to the region? So you have 3 separate camps, each of them having their own ideas. One camp believes in geothermal power, right? Making a geothermal plant and using that to power Lumio City. One group believes in water power, you know, building it like a hydroelectric dam or something like that to power Lumio City. And then the third party believes in windmills, using windmills to power the city. And each of the... Right, if this was set in, like, the 1920s, since, you know, Legends Arceus had a bunch of, like, hey, these are ancestors of current characters. You have the ancestors of Maxie, Archie, and the Delta episode girl. And they're, like, your evil villains. You bring back in Rayquaza, Groudon, and Charizard. Or Rayquaza, Kyogre, and Groudon. That's... Why did I say Charizard? You bring back in them, and they're, you know, using those legendaries to try to prove their point. That our way of power is superior. I think that would be a very interesting plot. And that's how you work in the Primordial Groudon, Primordial Kyogre, and Mega Rayquaza. It's through that storyline. Because, right, if we're getting Mega Evolutions back, that's how you do it. That's always been my idea for a Pokemon Legends game. I know that mixes in some Gen 3 love, but honestly, even though Gen 3 just got a remake like 7 or 8 years ago, Gen 3 needs more love. The Pokemon Company only ever gives love to Gen fucking 1. Gen 2 also needs more love. Like, Gen 2 does not get enough love either. And I know people are saying, oh, Gen 5 doesn't get enough love. Did you really want the Studio Laika, Studio Ilka game? Did you really want that? Because that's what it was going to be. We all know it. And deep down, that might still happen. Like, I'll be honest, I haven't weeded that out of the cards yet. That's not coming later this year. This ain't some... Right, just because they didn't announce it here, doesn't mean they aren't going to announce it in the future. You know what I'm saying? But no, that's my... you know, I thought of that idea for, like, a Legends Z months ago, and I have no idea where I said that. Did I say that while we were playing Scarlet and Violet? Did I say that in a, in one of these episodes of In Chat? I have no idea. But I've given that speech before, and I'm definitely going to repost that on TikTok in a few days. So, hi, TikTok. But no, I think there's a lot of potential. We're getting Mega Evolutions. We're going to get new Mega Evolutions. But I hope all the old ones are back as well. Mega Evolutions, I would want new ones. I want, okay, so fully as a joke, I expect Mega Charizard Z. I do not want it to be one of the starters. I think the idea of giving Mega Charizard an X and a Y form was already fucking stupid, and I hate it. I hate the 2 Mega Charizard forms. They should have just stuck with one. But, you know, since you've already made 2 stupid forms, you might as well give it a 3rd one. Like, you've got nothing to lose. Right? But no, well, so I fully Mega Charizard Z would not surprise me at all. I would love to see. Of course, everyone wants Mega Flygon, and the developers have said they thought about it. They just didn't have any good ideas for it. But I would love to see a Mega Flygon, because I do like Flygon. I don't love it, but I like it. I want Mega Shuckle, and I just want it to have more defense. They don't buff its attack. They don't buff its speed. It's just got it's Shuckle, but with a bigger shell. That's all I want. Just give Shuckle another 100 points of defense. I think that would be fucking hilarious. Because Mega Evolution did fix a lot of Pokemon that really needed the help. And one of the problems with them getting rid of Mega Evolution was those Pokemon that got fixed, that needed the help. They no longer have that, right? Pokemon like Mawile and Sableye, who really needed an evolution. Boom, Mega Evolution as a gimmick goes away, now they're useless. They went right back to being useless. Kangaskhan, right? I think Kangaskhan actually isn't like the worst thing in the world, but its Mega Evolution made it super powerful, and we're definitely going to have to deal with that again. I don't know. Honestly, with Pokemon Legends being the experimental series, there is a 100% chance that this game doesn't have traditional turn-based combat. Because Legends Arceus played around with, abilities. Like, I don't think there were abilities in that game. Except for Regigigas, because fuck Regigigas in particular. But there weren't abilities. There weren't really held items. There weren't really trades. And they had, like, two type, right? They had agility, that agile, and whatever the other one was. Was it power? I don't know. They had two different move types, strong and agile. Right? They played around with the combat system. So I could see the new game also doing that as well, and potentially getting rid of turn-based combat altogether. If the Pokemon Company wants to experiment with real-time combat, the Legends games is where they're going to do it. Because while the Legends game are mainline games, because they are, like, I know there are some people who are like, oh, the Legends is a side series. They're mainline games. Nintendo / the Pokemon Company classifies them as mainline games. The same way they would Scarlet and Violet, or, the original X and Y. Yeah, I legitimately think anything is possible with them. What other... I know I was talking Megas. I don't know what other Megas I would want. I see a lot of people saying Luxray. I don't hate that idea. I'm one of the few people who does like Mega Manectric. I think it turning into a giant lightning bolt, while goofy, because it is goofy, it's a very fun idea. I like that. I'm totally down for goofy Megas. And Mega Manectric is a pretty cool but goofy Mega. What other ones would I want? Now, the one thing I do wonder is if I don't think we're going to get new forms. Like, how we've had, like, Hisuian forms, Galarian forms, Alolan forms. I could see them not doing that, and instead just, focusing on Mega Evolutions. Adding in a bunch of new Mega Evolutions. Like, is that the best move? I don't know, but I think it's the more interesting move anyways. No, that would be my guess, is they do something like that. Because, yeah, because, I don't know, people just like Mega Evolution. What else can I say? It may not, well, okay. So here's the thing about terrestrialization. I like terrestrialization. Out of all the Pokemon gimmicks, or out of all the gimmicks the Pokemon Company has come up with, terrestrialization is probably the most balanced one. It's the most fully fleshed out idea. It's implemented very well in the game. Terrestrialization is a very well done mechanic. But Mega Evolutions are just cooler. And I know that makes me sound like a fucking, like, 8-year-old. But that's kind of why I like it more. The problem with Mega Evolution, though, was always how it was implemented in the game. You know, you only get... I think by the time you beat X and Y, you can only get, like, 3 Mega Evolution Pokemon. You can get the Lucario, the starter, and, like, one other one. Most Mega Evolutions you can only get in the post-game. Now, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire fixed some of that problem, but Mega Evolutions just weren't implemented well. And since then, the Pokemon Company has got better at introducing their gimmicks. I think, right, Gen 7 giving a new crystal after every gym was a good idea. Gen 8, admittedly, Gen 8's problem was that it only used its gimmicks in the gym, which just didn't feel as good. Right, like, I want to mess around with the gimmick. And I feel like that's where Terrestrialization found, like, the perfect balance of where it introduces the gimmick early on, and then you can use it at any point. And it's a very balanced, it's a very fair gimmick. Yeah, no, Terrestrialization is probably the best gimmick the Pokemon Company has come up with, but Mega Evolutions are just cooler, and there's a reason everyone wants them back, even though competitively they're very broken. They're just kind of cool. But of course, we'll just have to wait and see. And I still can't think of any new Mega Pokemon. They gave one to Glalie. Maybe give one to Frostlass? I don't know what you do with Frostlass, but... Because, you know, Gardevoir and Gallade got one. Yeah, give one to Frostlass. I could see them giving another... I know Zygarde has its ultimate form, but I could see them giving Mega Evolutions to some new legend. I mean, Latios and Latios got them. I could see them being like, hey, this legendary from this game got it. Because Diancie has one. And Diancie's like the only gens... They maybe should have given Megas to the Gen 6 starters. That's not a terrible idea, if I'm being honest. Because, like, that's something that Z-Moves got correct, is that you want your starters to have type-specific Z-Moves. Or, you know, character-specific ones. Like, that's something that Gen 7 did figure out. And then Gen 8 figured it out, but only in the DLC. For some reason, it wasn't in the base game, and I never really understood that. Now, what do I think the new starters are? That are probably going to get Mega Evolutions. Because it'd be weird if they did, like, I could see them doing the forms again, but I don't think they are. I think it would make more sense to give them Mega Evolutions. What starters would I want to get Mega Evolutions? I would love to... I think everyone seems to say Empoleon. Because, right, Empoleon's based on Napoleon. Gen 4 is based on France. That makes sense. I could see them bringing back giving Empoleon a Mega Evolution. I hope it's more interesting than some of the fan mock-ups I've seen. I've seen some pretty uninteresting fan mock-ups that are just, let's make it bigger. I want them to do something more interesting than that. I just don't know what. I think Meganium's a pretty good one for a grass type. Because we already got one of my favorite Mega Evolutions is Sceptile. I think Mega Sceptile looks amazing. So we already got Sceptile has a Mega Evolution. So I think Meganium would make sense. Give it a fucking really long neck. Make Mega... You know, I know one of those dinosaurs isn't real. You know, it's not Stegosaurus, but whatever. I know, whatever it is, I know it's not real, but make Meganium a giant fucking dinosaur as its Mega. Right? If it had had a Gigantamax form, which it arguably should have over Charizard, they should have... Gen 8 should have had so much more love for Gen 2. But no, instead they just gave more love to Gen 1, because they're fucking... God, I hate Gen 1. But yeah, no, make it like a giant, like, dinosaur. That'd be cool for Meganium. And then I see a lot of people suggesting Cinderace, and I don't hate that idea, honestly. Cinderace is not my favorite. I kind of have warmed up to Inteleon over the years of the Gen 3 games, or the Gen 8 starters, but I think Cinderace makes perfect sense as the third one. Yeah, Cinderace, Empoleon, and Meganium. I think that's a good lineup. Of those three, I would pick Meganium. I don't know what you do with Cinderace's Mega. Maybe make it... I know Chespin was the Armored Knight Pokemon, but I could see them giving Cinderace, like, Knight Armor. I could see that working. For some reason. Because Gen 3 was the first... Or Gen 6 was the first time they, like, themed all three starters. And man, did I love that. Because, you know, you had Delphox was a witch, Chestnut was a knight, and Greninja was a ninja, but he was also a rogue, right? Especially their middle evolutions were very specifically picked out. And I like that. I liked when all three of the starters are kind of themed around, like, aspects of culture or around the region. Gen 8. For all my problems with Gen 8, the starters being a stalker player, James Bond, and a punk musician, I think are great concepts for starters. Gen 9, for all my problems with Quaxley, I think also has a good cohesive theme. I know Gen 7 has a theme as well. I kind of don't remember what it is. I mean, it's a wrestler, a opera singer, and an archer. Like, I know there's some sort of cohesion there. I just have no idea what it is. Any other... we've been going at this for way longer than I thought we were. Any other ideas for ZA? No. Not really. Just fucking give us Pokemon The Sims. We're designing apartments. You know, it makes sense. Give us a continuation of that Ghost Girl. Because in X and Y, there's this Ghost Girl who you can find. And she, like, says a creepy thing, and then she disappears. And then I think she shows up in, like, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire or something. I don't know. For some reason, I swear they call back to that in one of the other games. But fucking just call back to that again. Right? Actually give us, like, a whole side quest around that. Bring back side quests, man. I think Legends Arceus had a bunch of side quests. And they were actually really fun. Like, I actually really do enjoy Legends Arceus' side quests. Some of them were a little obtuse. Specifically that one where you had to read a book in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and then do what the book says in Legends Arceus. That one was pretty weird. But other than that, you know, I think there's some good ideas there. Bring back side quests. I'm sure they will. And yeah, we need to move on now. I've been talking about this for way too long. Other shit in the showcase nobody cared about. Pokemon Go is getting a crossover with the anime. The anime also comes out, like, next week or something like that. I don't know. I'll be seeing Kung Fu Panda 3, so who cares? Kung Fu Panda 4, I mean. God, I have to rewatch all of those movies, and I have to rewatch the first Dune. I said Dune. God, I've got too much shit to watch. I don't have to rewatch all those movies. I should say, like, I know those movies pretty freaking well, but it's more I want to watch those movies again because they're all really good. So Pokemon Go is getting that crossover. Pokemon Cafe Remix is getting, what, Gimme Ghoul or something like that. Pokemon Unite is getting Koraidon or Miraidon. I want to say Miraidon, but I honestly don't remember. Did they talk about anything else? Pokemon Sleep is getting Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Cool. Okay, sure. Don't play it. Don't intend to. Right? That's one... Right? Knowing my sleep patterns is something I don't want insurance companies to know about. So, yeah. And yeah, that was the Pokemon Showcase. Honestly, better than I was expecting. I was expecting Black and White, Studio Laika remakes, and everyone was going to hate it. And honestly, even though there's not a lot of love for Gen 6, because unlike previous... Pokemon generations work in sets, work every other generation, people turn around on them. So people hate... This all starts with Gen 3. When Gen 3 came out, a bunch of people who played the first two gens didn't like it. And instead they were like, oh, the previous two generations are better. Then Gen 4 came out and people started to warm up to it, but people also thought Gen 4 was garbage. Oh, there's not enough fire types. And then Gen 5 came out and people fucking hated Gen 5. I know nowadays Gen 5 is regarded as like the best generation. When it came out, it was regarded as the thing that would kill Pokemon. People fucking hated Gen 5. I was there. I'm a primary source. But by the time that Gen 5 came out, people actually started to turn around on Gen 3 and realized, you know what, Gen 3 is good. Then Gen 6 came out, and outside of like Mega Evolutions, people hated it. But they started to warm up on Gen 4, specifically Platinum. They were like, you know what, this Platinum game is pretty good. And then Gen 7 came out, it was the Pokemon Company's anniversary, and everyone was like, oh, this is garbage. And when I say everyone, I'm being general. I'm using the collective internet everyone, right? It's usually just a vocal minority, but they're very fucking vocal. Right? People hated Gen 7, but they warmed up on Gen 5. Nowadays, you'll see a lot of people call Gen 5 the best generation, and that only started to happen around like 2017. Well, I guess it was closer to like 2016. 2015. I don't know. Right? It was not that way at launch. And then when Gen 8 came out, everyone fucking hated Gen 8. There are still people who hate Gen 8 because of the whole National Dex thing. Right? We're seeing this play out right now with the National Dex thing. And people hate that. But when they came to looking back at Gen 6, I actually didn't see that much turnaround on Gen 6. I did see some. I remember people saying that if you play Gen 6 with the EXP share turned off, it actually is a pretty balanced, challenging game. As long as you're not like going out of your way to grind so much. Right? I actually heard a lot of people, I heard that a few places. But other than that, people didn't really turn around on Gen 6. And then, guess what? Gen 9 came out. People hate, it looks terrible. It's got all these problems. Of course, some people loved it, but, plenty of people had problems with it. And guess what? People turned around on Gen 7. A lot more people appreciate Gen 7 nowadays. Because, guess what? It's the 2-generation cycle. And when Gen 10 turns around, or when Gen 10 comes out, mark my fucking words, people are going to turn around on Gen 8. People are going to look back at Gen 8, look at the DLCs, all the Pokemon, right, the 600 Pokemon that were in the game, and realize, you know what? That actually wasn't so bad, right? It may not have had the National Dex, but that allows you to have, like, a more specific set of Pokemon that, you get to grow attached to. Maybe not all your favorites are there, but it allows you to try out some new ones. I guarantee you, people are going to turn around on Gen 8. I've already kind of seen it happen in some ways, but it's not going to fully happen for a few more years. Now, I will say all of that has to do with people growing up. People who, played Gen 3 when they were like 8 years old. They grow up, they go on the internet, and now they're like, oh, you know what? I actually really liked this game growing up. That's a big part of it, is right. I know nowadays younger and younger generations have access to the internet, but even still, I definitely think a big part of it is, people growing up and getting on the internet and being like, no, I actually liked these games. Kind of like the Star Wars prequels, right? I remember the Star Wars, everyone fucking hated the Star Wars prequels. And then the millennials slash Gen X kids who grew up with them, they grew up, got on the internet, and started telling everyone they're good. They're not, but guess what? The narrative has basically completely changed, especially since the sequels came out. And in like 15 years, the narrative on the sequels is going to change as well. An entire generation who grew up with that is going to turn around, and we're going to start getting videos that, like, the last made by like a 15-year-old, let's say a 21-year-old. We're going to get videos made by a 21-year-old who watched The Last Jedi when they were like 7, saying like, you know what, The Last Jedi is actually an underrated masterpiece. The Last Jedi is actually a lot better than you remember. Of course, you know, haters are always going to be out there, and totally. But eventually people are going to realize the truth. It's just how it works. But no, I do actually hope we get some turnaround for Gen 6. Because my big thing about Gen 6 has always been the Pokemon. Gen 6 had the smallest amount of new Pokemon, but I love each and every one of them. There's not a single I feel like I'm kind of on an island there, because there are some people who really fucking hate Barbaracle. There are some people who really hate Klefki, who hate, oh god, what was the other one I saw people bitch? Halucha. What was the other? There was one I recently saw people bitching about. But in my opinion, Gen 6 has some great Pokemon. Tyrantrum, Malamar. I love all 3 legendaries of Gen 6's legendaries. I think they're super underrated. Yeah. Alright, so moving on to our next thing. So there was a report that came out. Oh god, who made it? I'll find out here in a second. But it came out saying that, hey, guess what? The Switch has, the Switch, according to sources we've talked to, the Switch 2 has been delayed till 2025. VGC. It was VGC. I was going to say Video Game Chronicles. No, it was VGC. That the Switch 2 is targeting a March 2025 release date and was internally delayed partly to avoid hardware shortages, a Japanese news report claims. So, honestly, that does not surprise me, because I remember in probably around 6 months ago, because there was originally reports that saying the Switch 2 was supposed to come out this month, right, in March of this year. But then there had been reports that it had been internally delayed, so that way it could avoid the, problems that, like, we see with the PS5, where there just aren't enough PS5s out there and people can't get any. Of course, that's changed in, like, the past year, but, for the first, 3 years, nobody could get a PS5. Now, usually Nintendo doesn't care about shit like that. I've been a Nintendo fan for many years, and normally they don't care if people can't get enough, right? That's not a Nintendo. I've been around the block, and Nintendo has done this since the Wii era. They have never given a shit. So normally I would say that discredits the story. But after everything that's happened with the PS5 and everything, I could maybe see Nintendo having finally learned a lesson. I'm still very skeptical, but I could see it. I still kind of believe the other rumor that it was delayed to make sure it had a stronger first-party lineup. I think that rumor is more likely, just because that's a Nintendo move I could see them making. Nintendo delaying a system because they don't have enough? That's very not Nintendo-like. Nintendo delaying a system to get more first-party games? That's very much a Nintendo thing. I could see Nintendo doing that. So, we'll just have to wait and see. If they're really rare at one... You see... the problem is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because either the Nintendo Switch 2, they make enough units, and then everybody buys them up, assuming it's going to be super rare, because history such as the Switch and the Wii and the NES Classic and stuff like that, amiibos, say that they will be rare. So people buy them all up, and just assuming they're going to be rare when they aren't, or the Nintendo doesn't make enough, and there just aren't enough anyways. That's the thing. So I think either way, this thing's probably going to be rare. It's the Toad problem. When Nintendo released the Mario Bros. Set of amiibo, right? It was Mario, Luigi, Peach, Donkey Kong, whatnot, and Toad. And they made a bunch of Toad amiibos, right? If you wanted a Toad amiibo, you could get one. But because everyone thought they were going to be rare, people bought up a bunch of them, thus making them rare. I don't know enough about economics to tell you what the thing's actually called, but when it comes to Nintendo, it's the Toad problem, right? Where they make enough supply, but people just assume it's going to be rare, because historically, given the evidence, Nintendo usually makes shit rare, that we expect this to be just as rare. No, it's very much a Nintendo problem that we have seen time and time again. And I see no reason why it would be any different. I don't know, I hope I'm able to get one. I was able to get a Switch. I remember watching the Switch presentation in January, and then just not sleeping that night, because GameStop was doing in-store pre-orders the next morning. And I was like, okay, well, I could either try... Because the Switch presentation happened at, like, midnight. Because it was done in Japan. It was done, like, early in the morning in Japan, which was late at night in America. And I had other things to do that night as well. And I was like, okay, I could either go to sleep and possibly miss the pre-order date, or I could not do that and then just stay up and do it first thing in the morning. So that's what I did. I did it first thing in the morning. Yeah, God, I remember. I remember that. Oh, shit. And I was not the only one there, either. I should say, like, there were, I want to say at least, like, 4 other ones of us. Now, when the day it actually came to pick it up, I was, like, the first person to pick it up. I actually was first in line. Not intentionally so. It was just kind of like, I went to, like, stand in line for, like, the midnight release, and, like, the 2 people in front of me, like, stepped out of line, like, and then I just kind of became first. Yeah, that was a whole thing. But yeah, you know, you know, Nintendo really doesn't have, like, don't get me wrong, the games Nintendo releasing this year, they're decent, you know. Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Side Order DLC was great. Mario vs. Donkey Kong has been pretty good. We'll talk about it a little later. I don't have much to say on it, but we'll mention it. Nintendo's got some, you know, they've got Luigi's Mansion coming out. They've got some decent stuff, but it's just nothing mind-blowing, and I don't expect anything mind-blowing, especially if, you know, Metroid, because I still think Metroid Prime is release window. Maybe not release day, but maybe it's not anymore. Honestly, a lot of shit could have changed in the past few months. Maybe Metroid Prime isn't release window Switch 2 anymore. I mean, it'll be available the day the Switch 2 comes out, but maybe it's not like what it used to be, of where it might have been coming out day and day. Who knows? We'll find out. But yeah, that's, you know, Switch... Again, the one sucky thing about the Switch 2 being delayed is that we're now going to have to spend the next 6 months until June waiting for it to get revealed, and there's going to be a new rumor every week. And guess what? That's held true. That is held true so far. I don't expect that to change. So, before we actually get into the next game, I do have a list to read off. So, our next story is about video game layoffs. So, if you haven't been paying attention recently, there have been a lot of layoffs in the video game industry. A fucking crap ton. And I was kind of curious, like, how many are there? So I went looking for a list, and I found one. Someone on Twitter actually made a list. And so this is Mr. Pio1, POMRPYO1, right? On X/Twitter. And it was, we are 2 months into 2024. Here is a list of a lot of, you know what? Wait, give me a second. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull this up. You know, I can. So fuck it. Let's just pull this up. Give me 1 second. Twitter.com. Where's my fucking... Okay, wait, where the fuck are my bookmarks? They used to be right here. Oh god, they're like behind like 2 more tabs. Okay. Here's the list. So it's right. We are 2 months into 2024. Here's a list of a lot of some of the game layoffs that are happening gaming-wise. Just 2 months. Microsoft, 1,900 people. Sony, 900 people. Unity, 1,800 people. I want to say that's like 25% of their company. Twitch, 500 people. Riot Games, 530 people. Discord, 170 people. Playtika, 300 to 400 people. Lost Boys Interactive, 125 people. Pixelberry Studios, 120 people. Metaverse World, 70 people. Black Forest Games, 50 people. Riken Games, 60 people. Eidos Montreal, 97 people. Sega of America, 61 people. 91 Act, 60 people. Supermassive Games, 90 people. There are more than this, but you get the point. Something is happening in gaming right now. Alright, so let's go back in. So with this, right, it came the report. Sony Interactive Entertainment is laying off 900 people. London Studios is closing entirely. And the layoffs have infected Insomniac Games, Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, Fire Spirit. So yeah, that's a lot of layoffs. Like, holy shit. And then, of course, after all those stories broke, right after all that happened, we then got this. EA is laying off 670 employees. We're also sunsetting games and moving away from development of future licensed IP that we do not believe will be a success in our changing industry. The greater focus allows us to drive creativity, accelerate innovation, and double down on our biggest opportunities, including our own IPs, sports, and online communications. I know we found out some of what was being canceled. Oh god, but I do not remember any of them. I know there were some things that were talked about. That was like, hey, this game has been canceled. It was a live service game. I know as part of this, Guerrilla Games, who was making, they're making like a Horizon Zero Dawn live service game. That has not been canceled. But did they cancel a Star Wars game? I think EA has canceled a Star Wars game now because of this. And just what a shit show. Like, this is what a functioning gaming industry looks like, right? These studios have to fire hundreds of employees just to meet the bottom line. Or more specifically, to have infinite growth. Because AAA capitalism is built on the idea of infinite growth. And when these studios aren't infinitely growing, they have to fire people to meet those end quotas, right? Oh, well, we fire 900 people, And now it looks like we made more money than we did last year because we're no longer paying all those people we fired. Even though, right, you can't just be successful. You have to be more successful than you were in the previous year. And it's just unsustainable. And this is, I talk about this, right, in terms of the gaming industry. This is not just the gaming industry. Netflix, HBO Max does this exact same thing. It's the reason why Netflix never renews shows for a second season. Because guess what? That's more money they have to spend, and they have to keep up the idea of infinite growth. It's why HBO / Warner Brothers keeps destroying all those movies. Like, the report came in this week that Coyote versus Acme is just being permanently deleted. That, right, the entire movie is just being destroyed. Because, you know, they use the movie to pay off taxes and whatnot. And I 100% believe that if you're going to do that, that movie should become public domain. Instead of destroying copies, it should enter the public domain. But of course that's not going to happen. Instead, they just get to destroy their copies, and they get to write money off their taxes to make it look like they have that infinite growth that they don't, because infinite growth doesn't exist. It's fucking despicable. And we live in hell. What else is new? You know, this is capitalism at work. Right? This is capitalism functioning as it's intended. Not to, you know, do stuff, but to make infinite money for shareholders. Because that's how companies are supposed to work under capitalism. They're not supposed to make products, they're supposed to make money for shareholders. By any means necessary. And, you know, if they just make art along the way, well, oh, that's just a byproduct. The art doesn't actually matter. Who gives a shit about art? We've got to make more money. It sucks. Man, the entire gaming industry sucks. And as I always say, where do these people go? Right? Where do all, like, because, you know, because, you know, statistically, gaming companies have been doing such massive layoffs for right, like that's just the past 2 months. There have been layoffs like that for the past few years, or for the past year at least. And my question is, where do these people go? And there is statistically, it is pretty likely that there was someone who was working at one of these studios, got laid off, went to work for like Microsoft or someone, and then got laid off there as well because they're fresh meat. There is statistically someone who has been laid off at least 2 of these companies. Just with how many layoffs we're getting, that is statistically very likely. I haven't heard, of course I haven't like actually like seen that, but statistically, yeah. Because we're like, these people, you know, they have jobs relating to the gaming industry. And now I mean, like, I know there are other places that they can work at that use their talents. But if it keeps going like this, you know, like, fuck, man, this industry is nuts. I honestly, with these amount of layoffs, this should be enough to burst the gaming bubble. Like, everyone knows the gaming industry is in a bubble. It's just nobody knows when it's gonna burst. And, like, honestly, like, I could see AI being what burst. Like, if more companies had gone big into NFTs, I could have seen NFTs being the thing that burst the gaming industry. And now I could see this being the thing that burst the gaming, right? Something's going to break it. Eventually, the floor is going to give. It's just what causes it to give. And honestly, it could be anything. But no, all these studios, this is why unionization is important. Right? Making it difficult for a company to just lay you off like this, as they're laying off hundreds of employees. Like, there was a thing recently about Google where its employees were trying to unionize, and then they just fired all of their employees who were trying to unionize while they were in, like, the middle of, like, a town hall or something like that. I don't know, Google did something shitty like that recently. I don't remember all the details, but I know Activision King employees are trying to unionize. And when Microsoft lays off over 1,800 employees, the ones who are trying to unionize are some of the first ones who are going to be hit. But this is why unionization is so important. So, to end off on a better note, I guess, we do have some details. So, the studio Toys for Bob. They're the studio behind such great games as Skylanders. That, I know Skylanders has... In hindsight, Skylanders has some pretty dodgy monetization with you having to buy plastic figures to play the game. In hindsight, yeah, I can see how that's pretty scummy. But as a kid, man, that game was so cool. I loved that game. I loved buying the little figures, man. They looked so neat. And unlike some digital games that try to rip off of it, you at least have the physical figures. I still have all my figures in a box somewheres. They're neat. There's some neat figures in there. So yeah, no, Toys for Bob, they did that. Then later in their life, they worked on the, did they work on the Crash Bandicoot games? I'm pretty sure they did Crash Team Racing, which that game was screwed over by Activision, but that's a whole other story. It was a good remake. They did the Spyro games, and then they did Crash Bandicoot 4, which was, people thought it was good, people liked it. And then after Crash Bandicoot 4, what did Activision Blizzard do? They fucking relegated the studio to the Call of Duty basement, practically destroying it. And they were also hit by some of these layoffs. These Microsoft layoffs that affected studios recently. You better believe they were hit by them. But the story came out right around all the time all these layoffs were being talked about. That, hey, guess what? Toys for Bob has gone independent. Because, there was a hope that, hey, now, while they had been relegated to the Call of Duty basement with, many other studios, there was hopes that, maybe Microsoft would bring them out of the Call of Duty basement and make them do Banjo-Kazooie. Because they did fantastic on Spyro, they did fantastic on Crash. I trust Toys for Bob to do a Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie remake. I think they could pull it off. But they were stuck in the Call of Duty basement. And that sucks. Boom, there we go. I was like, I hope I did that correct. So, they have the I'm going to read the statement before we jump back into things. So, it's Toys for Bob on their blog, and it's, "We're going indie. We are thrilled to announce that Toys for Bob is spinning off as an independent game studio. Over the years, we've inspired love, joy, and laughter from the inner child in all gamers. We pioneer new IP and hardware technologies in Skylanders. We raise the bar in best-in-class remasters in Spyro Reignited Trilogy. We've taken Crash Bandicoot to innovative and critically acclaimed new heights. With the same enthusiasm and passion, we believe that it is now the time to take the studio and our future games to the next level. This is an opportunity that allows us to return to our roots of being a smaller and nimble studio. To make new, even more exciting, we've explored the possibility of a partnership between our new studio and Microsoft. And while we're in the early days of development of our next new game, in a ways from making announcements, our team is excited to develop new stories, new characters, new gameplay experiences. Our friends at Activision and Microsoft have been extremely supportive of our new direction, and we're confident that this will continue to work closely as part of our future. So keep your horns on and your eyes out for more news. Thank you for our community and players for always supporting us through our journey. We can't wait to share updates on our new adventures as an indie studio." And you know what? Good on them. I'm glad this is happening. And yeah, I kind of do hope they do some... while that statement leaves it open for them to be like, hey, guess what? We are still working with Microsoft to make a Banjo-Kazooie thing. That statement does leave them open to do something like that. it also implies that, right, they're working on something entirely new. And I don't hate that idea either. If they want to make a new 3D platformer, take their work on Spyro and on Crash and whatnot, and Skylanders, and be like, you know what, we're going to make a brand new 3D mascot platformer, we're going to have new characters, we're going to do it all brand new. I legitimately think they're going to make something great. Right? Like, I know there's a lot of right, like, usually when studios try to make 3D platformers, I'm very skeptical nowadays, right, after a lot of what's happened over the years. But, you know, maybe they could make the next Hat in Time. I could see that happening. Why not? I think anything is possible. And if they want to make a good 3D platformer, if they want to make a spiritual successor to Skylanders, because I think the last Skylanders game was 2017, and nobody cares about that game. I think I got the entire team wipeout right there. Right, if they're the studio that wants to be like, oh, you know, we're going to make a spiritual successor to Skylanders. You know, use the gameplay, use the elemental mechanics. I think out of every studio... Okay, that was a bad place to put that. But I think out of every studio, they're the ones who could pull it off. So yeah, I'm glad... You know, Toys for Bob going independent is a good story. I hope they make something great. If they want to if they do a Kickstarter to like, hey, here's our Kickstarter for our Skylander spiritual successor, no plastic figures this time, I think they could pull that off. Because genuinely, the Skylanders games are great. At least I enjoyed the first three. I kind of fell off with the fourth one, but the first three specifically, I really enjoyed. I was so close to another team wipe. Look how fast the tables can turn. We were in their base a moment ago. And now they basically pushed us back to ours. And now we're going to push them back to theirs again. God, there's a reason why competitive Splatoon players don't do turf war, man. Because it can literally all change on a dime so quickly. Yeah, no, good for Toys for Bob. I look forward to see whatever they're doing next. I hope they make something great. Yeah, I think we lost that. We were at their base. We had them boxed in 2 wipeouts back to back. And then that. Oh my gosh. So that takes us to WIBE. I honestly don't have much for WIBE this week. I haven't seen a movie in like a month. I do plan on seeing stuff, right? Dune Part 2, Kung Fu Panda's next week, and I'm definitely seeing that on Thursday. Like, 100%. I'm excited for Kung Fu Panda 2. Or 4, I mean. I know some people are very skeptical of it. To be fair, I was very skeptical of 3 at the time, and I loved 3. I know not everybody loves 3. 3 is so underrated. It's not as good as... I know 2 is the perfect movie. I get that. 2 is the perfect movie. But, it's still pretty good. So yeah, I haven't seen any movie, TV shows. I have been... Right, we talked about Hell of a Boss last week, which is pretty good when you don't have someone bitching in your ear telling you it's not. And I have been watching Hell of a Boss since we finished Has-Been Hotel. But I'm only like 5 episodes... I've basically been doing an episode a night, so I don't have much to say about that. Oh, I have... the Marble League. They're doing a big event, the Marble 100, where it's 100 races over several weeks, and every week, like, the bottom 2 teams get eliminated. A really interesting new idea. And so, of course, I'm like, oh, and you know, it's all the Marble League team, right? No teams have been relegated. All you Cobalt fans don't have to go another year without the Cobalts being in the Marble League, even though they are probably going to be eliminated next week. Right? Every team's there. It's a really interesting idea. So, of course, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I'll start watching this. Admittedly, Week 1 hasn't even finished yet. Week 1 ends tomorrow, and the first 2 teams get eliminated. It's going to be the Cobalts and the Thunderbolts at the moment. Unless they win they basically come in first and second next time, they're basically fucked. Like, the Cobalts have... I want to say they started the first race with a DNF. Not the only team to DNF, but they started with a DNF, and since then, it's just kind of been downhill. Right, like they're fucked, kinda. They're not completely fucked. Again, winning gets you like 30 points, and I think they're only like 12 points down. But yeah, at the moment, right, race 6 came out today. It's the Cobalts and the Thunderbolts are at the bottom. I was really worried for my team. I'm a Team Galactic fan. Of course, I'm here rooting for Team Galactic, and I was really fucking worried. Because we came in last place. I want to say like we started off strong. We started off in the middle of the pack. You know, Team Galact mid. I think it's... Again, I always forget if it's Team Galact mid or Team Galact 5th. Either way, we started off in the middle of the pack. So let's go Team Galact mid. Right? Keeping true. That's where we started. And then we just kept getting bottom of the rank. Like, I think we came in last place once. I know we came pretty low. We came in, like, bottom 5. And I was, like, super fucking worried. And then finally, I think in race number 5, we came in, like, second. And then in race number 6, I want to say we also came in, like, middle of the pack. So, no, we were at the bottom. We were, like, the number 1 lowest ranked team after race, like, 4. And now we're kind of slowly climbing back up. And I think we're at like 19 right now. Because I want to say we came in, yeah, like first or second. We came pretty high one day. So, right, as I continue to root for Team Galactic, that's kind of where we stand at the moment. I have full hope that we will continue to climb up the rankings. And just eventually do, you know... Are we going to win this? Probably not. But I have faith that we'll come mid. But it was not. Like, the first, like days 2, 3, and 4 were super fucking stressful. But yeah, teams get eliminated tomorrow. And yeah, you better believe I'll be watching it. And, like, all the races are, like, 3 minutes long, so it's like, oh, you know, oh, I'm on my lunch break. Oh, I'll just turn this on, boom, watch a 3-minute race. Oh, perfect. It's actually pretty nice. So, the 2 things I actually have to talk about this week. Foodstuffs. I haven't talked about foodstuffs in a while. I'll be honest, I'm really just waiting for that fucking Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box did a smash burger. And it's barely, like, it's not like, I think of, like, when I think of smash burgers, I think of Freddy's. Because we don't have a Shake Shack here, or a smash burger, right? Like a smash burger restaurant. Yeah, we don't have one of those here. The closest thing we have that does a smash burger is a Freddy's. And Freddy's is actually pretty decent, I think. Like, they're nothing amazing, but I think they're decent. So, my hope... So, right, Jack in the Box, early in the year, they did a smash burger. And I actually thought it was really good. Like, they had a sauce on it and everything. That I actually think made a pretty decent burger, if I'm being honest. Like, I was kind of impressed with Jack in the Box's smash burger. And I had one, and then, like, the next week when I was like, oh, you know, that was pretty good, I'll get another one. They were gone. And so since then, I've just been waiting. I've been waiting for Jack in the Box to bring back their Smash Burger, and nothing. Nothing. Because they said they were bringing it back in February, and here we are in March, and I haven't heard a thing. I haven't seen anyone say it. Like, I haven't seen them put out, like, a press statement saying it's back. So I'm just waiting. But no, I actually do think it's, like, it's probably the best thing Jack in the Box has done in the past few years. And they've done some okay things. They've also made some decisions I do not care for. They ruined their Munchie Meal, effectively. But they've, you know, they're cheap food to eat when you're high. And I kind of like that. But the Smash Burger was pretty decent, in my opinion. Yeah, no, I was decently impressed with it. But, okay, so if I'm waiting for that, what did I actually try? So KFC, let's start off with KFC. So in the Philippines, KFC a few years ago introduced a chitza. It's a you know how like they have the double down sandwich where it's a KFC sandwich, but instead of buns they use chicken pieces. And it's like kind of insane, but in that like weird American way, like the donut sandwich that KFC also did one at one point. Well, in the Philippines, they introduced a pizza, but instead of bread, it used pieces of chicken. Weird, very American idea that I'm surprised we're finally actually getting in America. Right? It actually really surprises me that it took us this long to get it in America. But we did, and my first thought upon seeing it was I was like, you know what this reminds me of? A chicken parm. I love a good chicken, right? Chicken parmesan is fantastic. I love a good chicky parm. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, this will make a great chicken parm. So, like on Sunday last week, I had pasta. And then I just, I had some left over, so I put it in a thing to, stay overnight. And then, 2 days later, I went to KFC and was like, okay, I'll get the pizza thing, and then I'll just reheat my pasta, which I know reheat pasta isn't perfect, but, it worked. So I reheated my pasta, and basically just put the pizza on top of the pasta, like a chicken parm. And it was actually pretty good. I'll be honest, as chicken parms go, I have definitely had worse chicken parms. And I know places have done, chicken parm sandwiches. I want to say Burger King did a chicken parm sandwich that I did not care for. But, as chicken parms go, yeah, it was not bad. I would have liked a little bit more mozzarella. The pepperonis don't detract anything from it. I actually was like, you know what, this isn't bad. Would I get it again? Maybe, actually. I would actually maybe consider getting it again if just to have another chicken parm. And of course, I tried some without pasta, and it was, yeah, you know what, it was fine. The chicken wasn't overcooked. It wasn't super fucking dry, like Wendy's, right? I feel like whenever I go to Wendy's, I saw Queso. Talking about it, about Burger King, where he was talking about Burger King is like a restaurant where 1 in every 30 times they get it, right? 1 in every 30 trips to Burger King, it hits. But when it hits, it's amazing. And I feel like Wendy's kind of works the same way, but Wendy's is more like a 1 in, I'm going to be generous and say 1 in 5. When you go to Wendy's, you have a 1 in 5 chance of it being great. But, when it hits, man, it hits. And that's the chicken for me. I feel like that 1 in 5 times when Wendy's chicken hits, oh, it's so good. But the other 4 times when it's just really dry, I hate it. Oh my god. But yeah, no, it wasn't dry at all. And I'd like to think maybe putting pasta sauce on top of it might have helped with that a little bit at least. Yeah, we would have there. But no, I was actually kind of impressed with it. I was like, yeah, you know what, it's enough to get... I'll be honest, I do not think KFC has a bad rap, and kind of rightfully so. But I don't think it's the worst chicken place. I still stand by the worst chicken place is Church's. I fucking hate Church's. But I think KFC is at least better than them. But Popeyes is better than both of them. I still stand by Popeyes is the best chicken place. It's better than them. It's better than Cane's. It's better than all the other restaurants that are like Cane's. Right? Popeyes is your best chicken. But, you know, for KFC, this actually wasn't bad. Right? I actually enjoyed it. Will I actually get one again? Who knows? But I didn't hate it. I did not hate it. The other place I tried was Wendy's. Right? I just shit on Wendy's. But I did go to Wendy's for breakfast. Because they had a thing where it's like, you go to Wendy's on the 29th, you get a free Cinnabon pull-apart. Their brand new breakfast item that you can only order during breakfast. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll try it. I admittedly don't love Wendy's breakfast. I think their sandwiches are just kind of... McDonald's breakfast... I don't actually care for breakfast food. I think that's what it comes down to, is I don't like breakfast food. But if I were to get breakfast, I'd much rather have, like, a McGriddle. Because, you know, that's got pancake, it's got sausage. It's actually pretty good. Like, McGriddles are one of the few breakfast foods I like. Wendy's doesn't have their McGriddle. They don't have anything like that. And it kind of sucks. But, yeah. But I was like, I'll try this. And it was okay. Is it good enough that I'd go back and get Wendy's breakfast anytime soon? No, not really. Because I got that. And I got their French toast sticks again, which I hadn't had in a while. Since, you know, they were introduced. And the French toast sticks were okay. Like, I've definitely had worse I know Jack in the Box has French toast sticks right now. And I would not be surprised if they're worse. Yeah, and then I got, you know, the app always is like, oh, here's a free coffee. And I was like, sure, fuck it, a free medium coffee? Sure, why not? Or it wasn't it wasn't a free medium coffee. Maybe it was like $1 medium coffee. It was something like that as well. And I was like, oh, I'll take more free shit. Wendy's coffee is one of those things where I think the first sip is amazing. Like, you get one of their, like, Frosty Chinos or whatever, and the first sip is, like, fantastic. And then every sip gets progressively a little worse. And yeah, yep, I felt that right, that's always been my feelings on Wendy's coffee. And I always hope it's kind of I'm going to get it really good one time, and it's going to be like every sip is amazing. Or at least, you know, the second sip is as good as the first. Nope. Did not change. The first sip was amazing. And then every sip got progressively a little bit worse. I'll admit, I'm not a coffee guy. You know, I know there are people, especially in my generation, who are just fucking addicted to coffee. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with being addicted to coffee. There are much worse drugs you could be addicted to than caffeine. But I'm just not a coffee guy. And really, it comes down to the fact that it makes you shit. If coffee didn't make you shit, then I'd probably be fine with it. But that's just not something I want to deal with. Right? Like, I see a lot of videos of people making espresso on my TikTok. There's one guy. This is genius. So, back in the day, there was a series that was Will It Microwave, where they just threw random things in the microwave to see what would happen. They were definitely not the first show to do something like that. But they were definitely, I remember them back in early YouTube days being like, oh my god, this is amazing. They're microwaving a light bulb and it explodes the microwave. Holy shit, this is crazy, man. But someone had the idea on TikTok to be like, hey, let's make a series called Will It Espresso, where they just put random food in an espresso machine and see what happens. So, like, they put, like, green tea in, and it's, like, super fucking bitter. Or they put in honey, like honeycomb, and I guess it's actually, like, really good. Like, putting honeycomb in an espresso machine is actually pretty great. But I was like, oh, that's a really fun idea. Like, that's one of those ideas where it's like, ah, God, I wish I had thought of that. Because that's such a good idea, Will It Espresso. And, you know, you get a lot of shit, but it's just a fun idea for a show, man. But yeah, so I'm not a big coffee guy, but you know, I always get those espresso videos on my feed, and yeah. Where the... Oh my god. So yeah, those are the two food things I've tried. Oh, I tried, they have a lemonade, KFC has a lemonade. It's like a... It's not a blueberry. I don't remember what it was. It was... Because I just got the combo that came with, like, the lemonade and whatnot. Fries. Their fries are okay. I definitely think, like... I've definitely had worse fries at, like, Burger King. But, yeah, no. The lemonade was fine. So, yeah. The only other thing I've got to talk about is Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I continued playing it. I beat it. Guess what? I still really like it. Like, is it anything amazing as, like, far as, like, video games released this year goes? No. Will it most likely be kind of forgotten by the end of the year as just kind of like, oh, here's another thing that happened, you know? Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, honestly, if Nintendo has the year it looks like Nintendo's going to have, then it probably won't be forgotten. Because, you know, Nintendo's about to have one of those years where they don't have much. But I could easily see it being forgotten. And you know what? Maybe it shouldn't be. Because it's, well, yes, it is just a remake. It's a very fun game. It's not very long. I think I beat it in like 5 hours. Or I beat it in 4, and then it took me like another hour to go back and 100% it. We had so much of their base covered. Holy shit, I did not expect us to take that. Alright, we'll do like one more match. Oh, the map update's here in a minute anyways. But yeah, no, I like it. You know, all the level theming is fun. It's got a good update. Someone pointed out on Twitter that, like, the original Mario vs. Donkey Kong on Game Boy, on the original Game Boy, not the one this one is remaking, the one that came before the one this is remaking, it had, like, a world map with, like, different levels and theming, whereas this game, it's just, like, a bunch of boxes and a menu. And you know what? That's a fair criticism. I think a little, kind of like what the new Super Mario Brothers games do, or what Mario Wonder did, a world map would have actually been pretty fun. But what else are you gonna do? Oh, speaking of Mario Wonder, I took Mario Wonder has multiplayer, and I did the original New Super Mario Bros. When it came out on the Wii U. I played it with my family. Right? It was, hey, guess what? The 4 of us are going to play it. It's going to be a fucking nightmare. We're all going to yell at each other. You know, good times. So when with this new Mario game, I was like, you know what? I'll take it over to, you know, for like Sunday family dinner, and we'll give it a shot. And I'll be honest, it's got so if you have not played the game multiplayer, it's got a thing where there's always one player who is like the team captain, for lack of a better word. Where it's like they're the ones who are leading the pack, they're the ones who the camera follows. And trying to and it changes depending on certain factors. Like, at the end of a level, whoever's the highest on the flagpole becomes the team captain. And then if the team captain, like, let's say, falls in a pit, it then becomes a different player. Right, so there are, like, a number of things that can change who the team captain is. And having a person who doesn't really play video games as the team captain, it definitely causes some problems. Like, it's definitely a lot harder to, you know, like, I immediately, like, before we even started, I was like, we're not going to collect everything. We're not going to hit the top of the flagpole on every level. I knew that going in. The thing that surprises me, though, is how many wonder seeds, or wonder flowers, we have missed. Because you actually have to take, like, they're not all just on the beaten path as you go. You do actually, surprisingly, more than I thought, have to go out of your way or find a secret pipe to find the Wonder Flower. Like, in my natural playthrough of the game, you know, I explore a lot. I'm very curious about things, right? Like, I'll look at things. But when you're playing with a group of people, that's not exactly easy to do. So yeah, it's not like I'm not having fun. I am having fun. It's just playing the game with a group of people is definitely a very different experience. And it just kind of feels like the game itself was clearly designed to be a single-player game, but because the last few new Super Mario Brothers had shoddy multiplayer in their game, and let's not call it what it's not. It is shoddy multiplayer. But because the last few new Super Mario Brothers had that, this game also kind of felt the need to have shoddy multiplayer. We're definitely gonna finish it, right? That's the intention. Like, no matter how much we struggle, there's nothing that's been... Outside of... There was the wall jump badge. The badge that allows you to get like, a hop on a wall. That level was impossible with multiple people. Where, like, the platforms are rotating and you have to climb them. You can't do that with multiple people. Like, holy shit. That level sucks. The timer challenge... I could not do the timer challenge on my parents' TV. Holy shit. I don't know if there was just like a desync, if it was the controller I was using. I've done the timer challenge multiple times. I've done the hard version of the timer challenge multiple times. I could not get the timer challenge to work. Holy shit. It was driving me crazy. I could not figure it out. And it had to be a delay. Because, like, I'd press the button to jump, and it just wouldn't, like... There'd be, like, a second where, like, right, instead of being able to, like, jump multiple times in a row, like, the second you touch the ground, it always felt like there was a 1 second delay, and that 1 second delay made all the difference. And, oh my god, it was joy. Like, we finished playing, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna, let me show off real quick, doing this level. And I just couldn't do it. I tried for, like, half an hour, just trying this stupid level. Okay, half an hour, because it might be an exaggeration. I did multiple attempts. Also, we're always low on lives. Like, it is really nice that when a player dies, you have that 5-second ghost chance to revive them. That's actually that's one of those improvements over the new Super Mario Brothers games that I really like. Because in those games, when you die, you're dead. But also, each player had their own separate life counter, whereas in this one, you share a life counter. I just kind of wish there just wasn't a life counter at all. But no, I think we've gamed over multiple times. At least once. I want to say it's been multiple times, but I know we've gamed over at least once. And, we've ran out of lives multiple times. I think the highest we've ever been is like 7. And I think where we left off, we had like 2. So yeah, keeping lives is just hard because you share lives. If all 3 of the players die, that's 3 lives you lose. That sucks. Which I know like, if everyone was playing on the old games, that would 3 lives you lose. But you could have, like, the one, like, pro player who had, like, 30 lives. And then the non-skilled players who have, like, 2. But no, in this, it's everyone's, right? Everyone counts. The badges aren't really much help. Like, they don't really feel like they change things enough. Okay, I'm gonna leave you to that. I was hoping I was gonna be... I hit them each once, but I only hit that one twice. So yeah. Anything else? I haven't been playing anything else. There have been things I wanted to play, but God, I can't remember what any of them are. I haven't touched Suicide Squad in forever. Like, I know I had played a little of that last time, right? Like, in one of the previous streams. You better believe I have not touched it. And then, of course, there's the Side Order DLC, which we finished earlier today. I mean, technically, there are some things I haven't done. I'm missing a few of the palettes. I'm missing a few other... There's a few other smaller things I'm missing as well that I just haven't done. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm finished with it. And guess what? I had a great time. Does it have problems? Yeah. Yeah, the Side Order DLC, I'd be lying if I said that it didn't have problems. It's kind of repetitive in some ways. But I overall had a great time with it. I'm excited to, you know, I'm definitely going to give it a few more runs, try to get some of those more of those shop items. Because you need a bunch of pearls, and I'm going to make some runs. Try to get those last few those few things that we can't get. I think I have to do another run with the Octo Shot, but this time have, like, no upgrades on. So I'm going to do that. But I'm going to do all that off stream. Yeah, no, Splatoon is still a great game, right? It's got me in its grips until the last Splatfest. There was a new Splatfest announced today, or yesterday. Guitar versus drums versus keyboard, which I have no idea what team I'm going to be on for that. Definitely not drums. Drums is out. I don't give a shit about drums. It's really between keyboard and guitar. But that's on like the 21st. So that's in a while. Yeah. It's a great game. It's a great game that I really do love. I'm glad we put a bunch of time into it. And yeah, I guess that takes us to the outro. Did I buy stuff at the shops already today? I think I did, but I honestly cannot remember. I know I used the ball jackpot already. No, we have not. Oh, it's the Pharrell Williams hat. I know it's the Mountie hat, but it'll always make me think of Pharrell. Yeah, anything else? I don't know. Somehow I'm going to put together an edited version of the Side Order stuff and put that video out on YouTube. Maybe I'll keep it nice and short. Probably not, but you never know. So I've got that. Ooh. Oh, I did play the new stage, the new Salmon Run stage. It's interesting. Oh, hey, look at that. The new Salmon Run stage is interesting because it's got like all these like not zip lines, but you know, paths back up to the center area. But if you get like splatted in the lower area, there's no way to climb back up to the upper area. So that way, other players can, like, see you and revive you. You just have to kind of wait for them to show up. Which, that kind of sucks. But other than that, you know, it's not bad. It's not a bad stage at all. I haven't seen what the smaller area, or, like, the side area looks like, but I only played it, like, twice. Yeah, no, it's, glad the Splatoon community's united. That's great. You know, I thoroughly enjoy this game, man. No, unlike my game of the year for 2023, I have no regrets making Pikmin 3 my game of the year for 2022. No regrets, even after the Side Order DLC came out. Still, oh hey, that still works. Neat. Yeah, no regrets whatsoever. You Squiffer is hard. God, yeah. Don't tell me about it. Or tell me about it, I mean. Yeah, I think that's it, you know. Because, yeah, I didn't want to do this on Sunday, gosh. We'll be back. What are things coming up in the future? I have no idea. I have no idea what we're doing in the future. Definitely some I mean, we'll definitely be back here for Splatoon. I don't think there's any games coming out. I mean, legitimately, I have no idea what games are coming out. There's Princess Peach, but I'm not streaming that. We might, for in chat, do Donkey Kong. I honestly would be fine playing through that game again, and then just using that as the background for, like, an episode or two of in chat. Kind of like what we did with Turnip Boy and Mario Wonder. I might do that. I'd have no problem doing that, honestly. And yeah, I can't think of it. I legitimately can't think of anything else. This is, last year was one of the best years in gaming, and I can already tell you this year is not. Between PlayStation having nothing, Nintendo delaying their new console till next year, and Xbox also not having much, probably. Like, honestly, the saving grace is going to be Silk Song. And that's still ways away. So, yeah, last year was the best. So, kind of, this has to be a much worse year in comparison. But, next year, probably, new Nintendo console. I know, what was the other big... There's one other big thing that's coming out next year as well that I kind of don't remember. Oh, Grand Theft Auto 6, I mean. Duh, Grand Theft Auto 6. I actually was thinking about replaying Grand Theft Auto 5. I've never beaten... Kind of like Skyrim. I have never beaten the story campaign of Grand Theft Auto 6, or of Grand Theft Auto 5. And I'm like, maybe I should finally, go and do that. I should also do it with Skyrim, but Skyrim's... Honestly, the story campaign of Skyrim is not the fun part of Skyrim. Same thing with Fallout 4 in Starfield. The story part is not the fun part of the game. There's a lot less space to walk around here in Ingopolis Square. Yeah, there's a lot less space to walk around in. But yeah, that's where I've been stalling. That's where we're going to end off for tonight. So I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.